Morning, guys. Doing water changes. It's Thursday. So I was thinking, today's filter day. Is when I do my canisters. At any rate, I divide up my time between canisters and my hang-on backs. That way, I don't spend all day cleaning filters. But today, I thought I'd walk you through what I do when I clean a canister filter, what I look for, what I try. The process is, the principles are still the same whether it's a hang-on back or a canister. You still have 3 layers of filtration, even in a hang-on back, if you don't change anything. You'll have your coarse sponges, and you can put like a medium grade filter on top of that. You know, and in this case, I've got a pillow fluff. I can't think of what it's called. Polystyrene. Is that right? But anyhow, it's pillow stuffing. But you want to make sure there's no flame retardant in it when you buy it. Good God, I wish I could remember the name of it. Anyhow, and then on top, I've got more of that, and I've got either lava rock or the stones from bacterial stones up top. I'll show you when I open it. But anyhow, when it comes to your sponges, you can replace them every time. I don't. What I do instead is I rinse them out. They're reusable forever until they fall apart. Realistically, some of my filters have sponges in them that have been the original filters since day one. So, it's kind of up to you, but this way I don't kill off all the bacteria in them when I do them. Okay, so when I clean a filter, at least the canisters, turn your water on. You don't need it on super hot, about fish tank water warmth. So I guess that would vary depending on what you keep in your tanks and why. I pull off the motor top when it comes to canisters, and I make sure it's drained because I really don't want it sitting on my counter with a bunch of stuff. I mean, as you might be able to see, maybe not, it's a little dusty. The basement is a dusty place, and it always has been. So I give it a quick wipe down, make sure things are good. Nothing spectacular, but you want to get the dust off of it. You want it to look good. You get people coming over to your house, your apartment, whatever. You want your things to look neat and orderly. So, like I said, my filters, I try to do them once a month. That doesn't always happen. So, even if I don't do them once a month, these Cascade filters, you can see through them. And if you can see that line right there, that's actually muck buildup. So, which is why I do them once a month. I look for that muck buildup, and when that comes, I know it's time to clean. I also write the date down, and I got a little orange book, and it's a notepad that I write down the date that I did the filter change. That way I know. If I'm not sure, because you don't always get that muck buildup. That's after a month of not cleaning them. Like I said, I clean them once a month. So, you'll see online, and I'm sure there's good reason for this, I've just never ran into it. They'll tell you not to use the chlorinated water that comes out of your tap, and that could hold true depending on where you live. If your city water uses high chlorine rate, these were the stones I was talking about. I can't for the life of me remember what they're called. It's been so long since I've had to buy any or talk about them. Living out here on my own, with me and the family, but, I don't really have where when we were living in the Columbus area, there were lots of fish people here, not so much. So I don't have a lot of fish people over, not a whole lot of people talking about it. This is the polyfill that I was talking about. Now, this stuff here, I change it out maybe about once every 6 months. It's cheap, and you could change it out every single time. But realistically, I find cleaning it, just rinsing it, works just fine. I've never lost any fish to cleaning out of what chlorine is in the water here in Newark. I've never, had a crash in my bacteria cycle in the tank. And that was another thing. I see guys online. I mean, and I'm not saying it can't happen. I've just never had this happen to me. Where, especially with bigger tanks, they may be running a couple filters. They clean out one every 2 weeks and then the other one so they don't lose the bacteria cycle. I have a thought and opinion on that. And I don't think I've ever tried to prove it. I mean, other than the way I clean my filters and do my tanks. But in your tank, anything you have in your tank besides the water has bacteria on it, good bacteria on it. So you've got good bacteria on any rocks, plants, sticks, wood, anything. It's in there. So I would think that if you wash out your filter, like in this case, and I do this every single time. I clean my filters. I clean them completely. I rinse the baskets off. I rinse out the media. Clean the trays, and I've never had a problem. My plants have never died. I've never crashed a tank, so to speak. I've never killed any fish by doing this way. I've heard a couple YouTubers say that they wash their stuff out in their tanks now if you don't feel, or in their sinks, and watch them do it. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can use some of the tank water. Just when you go to change your water, put some of the water in a 5-gallon bucket, or leave a 5-gallon bucket if that's how you do your water changes, and you can rinse your stuff out in that. It works just as well. I just prefer to do it this way, and it's like I said, it's always worked well for me. I've never seen any change in my fish, and most of my fish, all my fish we've had for years. It's not like any of my fish are new. Speaking of new fish, we are planning on getting some. I know I keep talking about it in my videos, and there just hasn't been time to go. We have one mom and pop fish store here in the Newark area. It's not even actually in Newark where we live. And if you don't get down there on Wednesdays, there usually isn't much to see come Thursday when they open at noon. So, and they're struggling to get some things in. Supply chains are running slow, or they haven't been able to get any, things like that. And the nearest fish store to us from there is Columbus, which is about 45 minutes away. And their hours are limited due to the pandemic and the amount of people that can go in there. And then you've got the next one, which is even further away at an hour and a half. And by that time, I could be going to Cleveland, Cincinnati, and all that. And there just hasn't been a whole lot of time. I try not to, not that I have anything against ordering fish online, but I know when we order things online at the moment, even when we pay 2-day shipping, it still seems to take a week, and it scares me to think that I would pay a lot of money for fish. Well, not a lot of money, more probably in shipping than for the cost of the fish. To have them arrive not healthy. Not that I'm against ordering fish online, but it seems like lately it's a little more worrisome trying to get things quickly in the mail. So I would worry about the health of the fish, and I don't want to see that happen. But anyhow, so I get done rinsing these out. I'm going to rinse out this last one. Actually, here, we'll just keep talking while I rinse out this last one. It'll be fun. You want to start, like in this case, I'm doing them in the kitchen sink. If you have like a mop sink or a utility sink, that would be awesome. I know at our old house, I had a full-blown setup in the fish room. I had utility sinks to clean with. I didn't have to fuss with all this. Now, that being said, since I'm doing this in the kitchen sink, after I get done cleaning my filters, well, when you get done cleaning your filter, if you use a food prep surface or area, make sure you clean it up real good. Now, I'm not talking to go through and bleach it for hours and scrub the heck out of it, but I make sure you use some good hot soapy water on it, and get all the muck off. Because like right now, I'm getting a little bit of splatter of yuck on the counters, which is inevitable. It doesn't matter how much you try to be neat and clean on cleaning filters, you're inevitably going to get a little bit of muck on there. Say you got a canister filter though that you can't see through, or a hang-on bag you can't see through, like my Aqua Clears, you can see inside of them to see the muck. Or if there's any muck or buildup on the filters. These Cascades, you can too, but like my Fluval, it's in a solid black case, you can't see it. So, what can you look for to tell, outside, especially if you're not somebody that cleans their, or doesn't have the time to clean their canister filter on a regular basis, which you don't want to clean it out every week. But how would you tell there might be a problem, or you might have blockage due to overfeeding, or just a heavy bio load? What I look for, and it's really the only thing I look for, is water flow out of the filter. How is when you first plug it in, it's brand new, it's got really strong, powerful flow out of it, right? So, and it should maintain that flow. I've had my Fluval now, my little Fluval, on the upstairs tank for 5 years, 6 years, and it still flows just as good as it did the day I bought it. Much like these Cascades, we've had these for a few years now, and they still flow very, very well. So, how do I know when maybe it's time to change them? Well, this one I can see through it, but the Fluval I can't. So I look for the water flow. If the water flow starts to slow down, that means that your pump is still pushing water through it at the rate it wants to or is trying to, but there's something blocking it, or slowing it down at any rate. And that's when I usually know it's time to clean it, or at minimum open it up and take a look. I remember one time we bought a tank and it had a Sun filter that came with it, and it still had the water and everything in it. The tank was up and running when we got it, but we left the water in it to keep the bacteria good. I plug it in and it's flowing, but it's flowing real slow, and yet it's wide open. It had adjustment knobs on it to adjust flow, and so I go to clean it out, and the blockage was actually 3 cherry barbs that had gotten sucked up in the filter somehow. I don't know how. They weren't my cherry barbs, and was causing the blockage. So, fish can get in there if you keep shrimp, if you're not careful. They can get caught up in there. Now, with small fish, smaller fish, like nano fish, things like that, rasboras, most tetras, not all tetras, but most tetras, you want to keep on the end of your intake that's down in the tank, you want to try to keep a piece of sponge around that also. That way you don't run into fish getting sucked up. I know, like in my goldfish tank, I have the cory cats in there and I have goldfish in there, Now, I don't have to worry about any of those 5 guys getting sucked up, obviously, but I have to worry about duckweed because I feed the goldfish duckweed about once every 2-3 weeks. I'll clean it out of the top of, matter of fact, the acrylic tank. This is the filter for it. That way I can, they need the greens. If I don't have duckweed, they get a little bit of green beans, but they need the greens to help keep their digestive system on track. Without that, you run the risk, especially feeding flake and some pellets, depending on what you feed them, they can get backed up and it can kill them. And I don't want that. I love my goldfish, and I absolutely love my cories. So they at least get duckweed, but occasionally they get green beans if I'm running low on duckweed. All right, so we got it all rinsed out. Fair enough, easy. I mean, not a problem in the world. Put them back in the order that you took them out. Like in this case, it was see, I've got this poly in all 3 filters, along with the stones, and I got the big industrial foam on the bottom, the coarse foam, to catch the big stuff. So you just put it back literally in the order that it's in, or that it came out. That way you make sure you got it in the right order. Your big foam should always go first, and then the bottom. Protect the screen. In this case, not all, most filters have that. And then fill it up. Most filters have if you read the owner's manual, it will tell you where to fill it up to. I have found that if I just fill it up just a hair past where the motor sits, you're in good shape. You'll have a little flow out when you put the motor back on, but that's okay. It'll get you where you need to go. So when you fill these up, after you get it full, or as you're filling it, if you've got the space, move it around a little bit because you are inevitably going to get air bubbles in here. Now, most filtration systems have an air vacuum pump thing you can use, or built into them that will allow you to get the air out. But I have found if you take it, I mean, you'll see it. It'll bubble. It'll do its. If there's air trapped in there, it'll do its thing. But like on this Cascade here, you push this button, that's actually a great big button, down, and what it does is it pushes the air out of the pump and through the line, so that way you have just water in there and not a whole lot of anything else. So you get it on there, make sure you're putting it on straight, true, and right, which I'm not, putting it on backwards. Right there is there you go. That will go into a slot. Most pumps or filters, canister filters, they're kind of built the same way. There's always a little deviation, but there's always a place for the water to go in, a tube to take it down to the bottom, and then so it circulates. Here, let me pick this up so you can see it. All right, so in this case, I've got a black stem and a blue stem. The black stem is the intake. It brings it in through the pump, past the impeller, and then there's a tube that goes down. The tube is created by each one of these. The water hits the bottom right here, where then it is forced back up by the continuation of the water coming in, forced back up through all the media and out the exit. Where your return, where it goes back in the tank and it's clean. That is the basic 101 of filters. Now, some filters run backwards to that. It just really depends on how you've got it set up. Now, when it comes to putting your filters back together, much like taking them apart, everything fits for a reason. I mean, it should go together smoothly. You shouldn't have to force fit anything. That's where a lot of people get in trouble with their filters. It's like this one's struggling to go down in the corner, but you don't want to force it. By forcing it, that means that something's not sitting right. There's not a filter out there that isn't designed to go together smoothly. Like in this case, I just had the, there we go. I just had the pipe off a little bit when I was putting it together, and it caused it to not to go together smoothly. Forcing it together can create a huge problem. It can break your canister filter. So like with the Suns, which aren't horrible filters, they're a good beginner canister filter. They can be a little challenging, but for the price, the instructions are horrible, but they don't operate any different than any other canister. But if you're not careful with it and you try to force it, you'll start breaking parts. I know. I broke parts on the first one I ever owned. Not paying attention. And like I said, they weren't bad filters. Matter of fact, when I sold the tank that I had that one attached to, the girl still has it that I gave the tank to. She still uses it every day. So their reliability is not bad. These Cascade filters, same way. I mean, some of the plastic could be a little better, but it's not horrible. Obviously, we've had these for a couple, 2-3 years now, and never once broke a thing. But like I said, I've learned from experience, because you always want to learn from experience, that nothing should be forced together. It should all just go together fairly easy, if you're doing it right. If not, take your time. Remember, there's no rush. It's not going anywhere. If it takes you 45 minutes to get your filter off, get it cleaned, all that good stuff, then so be it. All right. Well, that's really the essence of cleaning any filter. You take it apart, you rinse your media, you put it back together, put fresh water in it. That includes hang off the back. Sponge filters are a little different, but when it comes to motorized filtration, that's pretty much the end game right there. When it comes to these and hang off the backs, that's pretty much all I know. I can show you a sponge filter. I do have a couple. Don't really use them for filtration, but I have them in the tanks. And maybe we'll look at that next week. So that's how you clean a canister filter. If you're interested in seeing a hang on the back cleaned in itself, let me know in the comments. I'll be more than happy to do a video for one. Give us a chance to chit chat. All right. I love you guys. Tell somebody else you love them, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.